So, hello, Horizon. This is Ruth and DJ Carson, and we are here talking about Principle 10 of Environmental Storytelling. Take it home.
Yes.
And so I will read it out for everybody to hear, and I'll copy this and put it in the post also. Take it home. The phrase exit through the gift shop is both a way to make money and a way for the visitor to bring home with them a tangible artifact from their experience. This becomes a talisman that can trigger memories of the experience. Whether these are photos, objects, or information, these can only be gained through having the experience in the first place. These objects, whether physical or virtual, have meaning or mana only because the observer has been through an experience that gives them that sense of importance.
That's right. So in the theme park world, the necessity of putting the joke being, you have to exit through the gift shop. It's an opportunity for designers to be able to extend the story so that there's a sense that if you've been on Splash Mountain, that you're going to get to go into a space that evokes the story that you've just been through and take a piece of that home with you. The harder part in Horizon is, although technically you could create a gift or something that someone could take with them, that's often involves some mechanics currently of them having to be added to a world that they could pull from. So when really in Horizon, to take it home is much more, is there an emotional moment? Is there a thing that they can encounter that when they leave, they take part of that home with them? It was it impactful enough? It's like when you watch a movie and then you tell someone you've been thinking about it all the next day. That was something you took home with you after having seen something.
That's interesting. And so Horizon could have a really fun game that people play where they either lose the game or win the game, but they meet people in the process. Or, I mean, we can take home unpleasant things too. But in this
Absolutely
case,
right.
We want to take home pleasant things.
Well, and since this is mostly talking about the design aspects, how is you as a designer building a world? How are you making a conscious effort to design something into it that is impactful enough that they'll take it away with them?
And so what's a good example of that as far as world building that you have seen in here?
Well, certainly Become is a wonderful example. You've witnessed people who've gone through the whole journey and end up in the presence of a giant fetus. You can't help but that moment being taken home with the person. In my own example, the inspired by Become End, which was, could I create an environment that alludes to something and then halfway through it you realize there's another thing happening, and then you get to walk away back through the same objects with a new idea of its ownership and its meaning. But hopefully that is something you take away with you and can reflect on. So there was I think it was Casey Neistat, a fairly famous vlogger, who said that his mother told him, whatever you do, don't waste your money on travel, spend it on things. And he said that he had come to the realization that she was exactly wrong, which was that the act of travel brings home intangible emotional experiences that then, like things, can be picked up and manipulated in your imagination. So how is Horizon like that? How is it travel that you take home pieces of it with you?
Well put. Yeah, and I look at it like I take home the experiences people have of my worlds or on my world tours, getting to watch that. Or like, I think you might have seen it, but I had the chance to create a wheelchair for someone recently, and how impactful that was to them to have their mobility, safety, and what has given them access in their life in Horizon was such a
Right.
bridge to connecting and helping them belong.
Exactly. And we don't get to decide what's a talisman for
Mm-hmm.
another. But
Mm-hmm.
if we can recognize the potential power of that,
Mm-hmm.
gifting them that
Mm.
is a gift that they can take
Or
home with them.
yeah, in our case, the talisman, the first one would have been the bee. That
Right. Exactly
yeah,
right. Yeah.
that you donated this bee and I caught you donating it and was like, I'm such a big fan. And then here we are so far forward and feeling that still sense of connected through that bee.
Right. We're imbuing that bee, whether or not we see it physically
Mm-hmm.
or we are remembering it with
Mm-hmm.
the experience around it. So I have a question for you, and that is, since so much of your memories that you pull back from Horizon are human interactions,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to your worlds, are you designing with that in mind, or is that
Mm-hmm.
just icing on the cake of having created something?
Hmm. To some degree, the fantasy that I have when I design is watching somebody get frustrated or get lost and having a reward. I find that like
Mm.
endlessly diverse as to how to create those experiences. And it's such a
Huh.
quick little loop, but just to kind of look at what the path is and then skew it here and there ever so slightly so they do get lost, but they don't know they're getting lost. And then see if I can put something interesting or surprising in the endpoints there.
That's really interesting because my background is we do everything we possibly can to avoid
To
getting
keep them
people
on the
lost. So
path. Yeah, yeah.
but it's interesting the idea of baking into a design
Mm-hmm.
purposeful lostness,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Purposeful lostness. I like that.
right?
Yeah, and
Well, and
and I used to get very frustrated with I made the path here and you're going there. And then when I
right,
started to see the trend of going there, then I learned to tweak the path so you didn't go there. But then I felt sad because I thought, but what if there was something cool down there? What would that thing
mhm,
be? And so I
right.
started just trusting like that the path was the path and it was going to go somewhere, but then I could add something wherever it went.
That's interesting.
It's
That's
like a
interesting.
tree.
It's and you do go back in and you will add a
Mm-hmm.
reward for
Yeah.
the what was originally a wrong path
Yeah.
becomes a right path
Yeah.
or an
Yeah.
optional path.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
It becomes the like more of the journey where I discover sometimes I'll ask people when we land in a place or they get stuck or whatever, what would you want here? What would make this a rewarding moment for you?
Hmm,
And
that's interesting.
rarely do they have answers because they're frustrated. But if I can find them again, whenever that does happen, I would take them back and say, did this make it worth it to fall down that thing?
That's
And
interesting because
yeah.
I've certainly had the experience multiple times of going to a place for the first time that you've built and then had you behind me
Uh-huh.
and I get frustrated or stuck and
Uh-huh.
you going, it's interesting that you took that path. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I'm always learning from
sometimes
how
I
you take
think, am
advice.
I a lab rat?
Yeah. Oh, you
But then I
totally
also
are.
realize, we great
I'll give
that
you a tail.
but yeah, but also I like the idea that there is no wrong path, which
Mm-hmm.
is the
Mm-hmm.
assumption that one would get in the lab rat analogy. It's
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
more. It's really interesting. What was it that caused you to go that route?
Yeah. Yeah. And that some worlds the wrong route has turned into some kind of instinctual awareness of wow, when people take that route, we end up having really interesting conversations. And and
Interesting.
and I've made some profound friendships from people taking the path less traveled and the ones that
Right.
really explore, but I'll work on not prompting them and just saying like can I predict from what I know about this person which direction they're going to go? And so
Yeah.
there's a beauty to watching how people shape their journey of the world and how I can see it from different directions. And then also, I go into other people's worlds in here, and I will delight in I try to find something I delight in first so I can take that home, right? But I also
Right.
try and find something where it went unconscious, it got broken. And
Oh.
to feel the range of that, it feels like a balanced world for me. If I can find both of those, I'm like, okay, this person is growing.
So is it the brokenness of one aspect of it that makes it well-rounded, as opposed to
Yeah.
something that maybe worked too perfectly, that had been too
Yeah.
polished?
A super polished world
Interesting.
makes me want to go look this person up on LinkedIn, but isn't necessarily going to make me love them. What makes me
Oh,
love
interesting.
them is the delight and the brokenness.
Interesting. And that's interesting. Well, see, my daughter, when she was really young, whenever
Mm,
she would play even educational games, she would do the wrong thing, often purposefully, and
mm,
learn through it.
mm-hmm,
Uh, when watching her play Skyrim is to
mm-hmm,
watch her hurl herself off of cliffs and hurl herself at the mouths of dragons.
mm-hmm,
The thing
mm-hmm,
was that her willingness to be able to fail repeatedly
mm-hmm,
meant that she actually advanced because she was learning
mm-hmm.
at a rapid pace,
Exactly.
while
Yeah.
I would walk, the straight and narrow and make sure I did everything
Yeah.
just like the
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
designers had
Yeah.
told me. So, yeah,
Exactly. And what I've also noticed is for developers, they're like your daughter. And I
yeah,
I am always blown away at how quickly they leave the path and they just try to break the world. Like they're not
yeah,
necessarily very interested in the path. They feel a little bit too funneled maybe. And
right,
and so they want to look at the angles nobody else is looking at. And so
right.
watching the daringness of going behind the scenes has given me the courage to peak myself and not
That's
be
interesting.
it's different. Broken doesn't mean disappointing. Like I want to know how it broke, how it stopped, where that growth edge is. It's
Hmm.
not about like bad. It's just about this is where it ends and this is where it's going to wilt and maybe they'll do a different world and grow here.
That's
So,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I need to go back and break some things in my
You got to go
previous
break
worlds.
some things. Yes. Knock some chairs over, stuff
Well,
that
you're
like
often, yeah, that's right. I should knock chairs over.
we
Thanks.
really need a knocked chair in here
I
after all
think,
these
I think
conversations of
so.
knocked chairs.
Or a stool.
Yes, yes.
So, but that's fascinating. Well, you and I've talked about you're wanting, if you're going to put clouds, you should know that people are going to somehow find out a way
They're going to
to
want
get
to
up
jump on
there,
them.
and
Mhm.
you should reward them for having been
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
adventurous.
Yeah. And I
Interesting.
have had a lot of these conversations before of like there's the perception that I am in physical reality and I'm getting to be in this amazing theme park. And then the
Right.
next level is I'm in this amazing theme park and I'm getting to do the things you can't do in a theme park. I'm getting
Right.
to
Right.
leap up into the sky and fall all over the place and run behind things and underneath them and
Yeah.
that full circle feels like yes, somebody prepared for me to not just go the story they meant, but create my own story in that.
Yeah, I think also, I think one of the principles is basically lead with what is expected and then surprise
Yeah, yeah,
afterward.
that's
I have a
right.
feeling we're probably going through an evolutionary phase where
Hmm.
this first generation is going to need to be coddled to a certain
Mm-hmm.
extent by
Mm-hmm.
given something familiar. But there's a
Mm-hmm.
future generation, or even us, as we evolve virtually, that will be willing, much more willing to throw ourselves into the
Mm-hmm.
unknown,
Mm-hmm.
and we might even find familiar things to be kind of off-putting
Mm-hmm.
because it's a limitation on what the potential of what's here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
That it almost feels like a cookie cutter experience versus
mhm,
versus an experience of inventing something new, and that part of what you're inventing is you. Like,
Right.
yeah. So
Well,
I,
that's
yeah.
something I notice in new designers, and including myself, when I was
Mm-hmm.
first going into these virtual places, is sort of like your default first place is to recreate something familiar
Familiar.
from a film or
Mm-hmm.
some
Yeah.
touch tone thing that you either have experienced or you wish you could experience. So something
Mm.
from a favorite movie, and I think that's an important learning
Mm-hmm.
arc. You
Yeah.
know, once you've made your a couple of things like that, then all of a sudden I think the epiphany hits where you go, you know what, I don't I'm not necessarily needing to just recreate this. I could actually
Mm-hmm.
do something
Mm-hmm.
completely different. And that's
Mm-hmm.
when the sort of the creative cap is popped off and you could really
Mm-hmm.
go to town.
And that's the concept also of the grid and how many people build on the grid. And so the biggest
Right.
permission that I give people when we get in the worlds, I'm
Turn up.
so happy if they ask the question, do I have to build here? I'm like, you have a
Right.
future here. That's the right question. That just opened your first door. And the answer is
Right.
no. And use the grid as your ruler, not as something that rules you.
Right. Well, and I've noticed that you will often build way, way above or way, way below
Mm-hmm.
the grid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing, just in guessing, that the reason you do that is so that if you import it into something
Mm-hmm.
else, it
Yeah.
doesn't show up smack dab in the middle of whatever
Yeah.
you're working
Yeah.
on. And that's super clever way in
Mm-hmm.
which to do that.
Yeah, well, and the piece of modeling for people, assuming that newbies are going to build on the grid, and so I have a lot
Yeah.
of templates that I offer people, and so it's a way to keep showing people like, um, think think beyond the person who's going to use your world. Think about the person who's going to improve your world. Go
Yeah.
even further. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have
That's
an
great.
idea of what I've heard. I have not never been to this world, but I've heard there's a quite polished ride world that's very Disneylandy, a Peter
Oh,
Pan world.
wow.
Have you been to this world?
Oh, have not been.
Okay. So I think we'll have to party up for a moment to get into a private session of it, unless we want to
Does that
gamble
mean
with
one of our,
the Horizon
with our
kiddos. Probably. Yes.
okay,
And we cannot
we
forget
will remember
that, is it called
our one.
Neverland or Wonderland? Now I have to remember. I just saw the post for it recently. Oh, those are my worlds. Definitely not going to find it there. Wonderland. Mm-hmm. Now we have to find it. Gotta love not being able to see what the popular worlds are. Because actually, it might be in there. Maybe check that too. Wonderland is actually kind of cool. So, is it Neverland? That might be Flight to Neverland. Oh, I think this is it. Let's see. Yes, good. Okay. Oh, actually, don't accept that one because I need to do it as private. Flight to Neverland. Have you figured out how to do those ones that are closed session only? Yay. Okay. So basically, if we're talking in this party, one of us is not being hurt, but I don't remember which one of us. Is it me? Yeah, I think it is me. That's so interesting. They still have that. I'm so excited to go on a Disneyland ride with you. This is like the one thing we've never done. Okay. Let's hop out of party. Yay. Okay.
There we go.
Oh,
Okay,
look,
we're
they
not in the party
even
anymore.
and we're echoey, which is interesting. Look, they
That's
even have an
interesting.
emergency station. It really is
That's interesting.
a ride,
Just in case you
just
cut
in
your
case you
finger.
need first aid. Oh, and it slides
I
like
see.
ice.
Operator. Okay, should we jump in one?
Okay, let's jump. Oh, yeah. Okay. Flight to Neverland.
Here we go.
I guess this is Neverland.
This is London.
Ooh, this is London. Oh, yes. So we have an interesting use of space.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing this car ride is made on, what is it called? There's a scripting where it follows boxes, so we can't control it. It's just going to these invisible boxes.
Okay, as opposed to them hand animating it.
Yeah, it makes it a little smoother. A follow script is what it's called. I'm so proud of myself.
Yes, one of my bucket list projects is to recreate this scene. Is either a little blacklight peep show where you stick your eye in and see it, or potentially virtually.
Huh. So, you believe this feels believable, like a London scene?
Well, no, I just know what it's meant to represent. I think that probably it's missing some pretty important, iconic things like St. Paul's Cathedral and Big Ben and the Thames.
Yeah, got it.
You know, but I can absolutely see their intent.
Yeah,
this
it
is
definitely
a much longer version than the one at the park.
Right. We're flying around. I'm appreciating. Oh, does it do this at the park? You fly around the city?
Right. You're in a flying pirate ship.
And
you fly over London, which is done. It's actually blacklight. It's actually painted on a concrete floor. And there's traffic. You can actually see traffic moving around on the streets. And that's done with a bicycle chain. And they've painted a dot of blacklight paint on the links.
Wow.
And it just moves around. And then there's these ethereal clouds that are close to the ground, but if you're in it with the lights on, they're actually crumpled plastic bags. It's just so dark in there you can't tell.
That's so good.
The plastic bags even have stamped on them choking hazard.
Wow. So I'm so curious what that creative process is like how people decide, like, we need these plastic bags, or we're not going to use that sophisticated, crunched up paper that costs money.
I think part of it is that it's an older attraction, so it was based on more theatrical theater rules. And today, because of fire and safety and all these various sustainability, a lot of those choices could not be made.
Oh, wow. But yet it's still safe enough for people to go through now.
Right. Well, one thing that this comes to mind is that, especially because this is such a long experience, is that the idea of creating a ride for the purpose of having a conversation is actually kind of neat.
That is kind of cool.
Whether we were in a gondola or we were...
That's true. Yeah. It would be interesting to be like, I want to have a 5-minute talk with you, so I'm going to take you to this world.
Right.
And then we're just going to say whatever we got to say. And then we're going to
jump.
We're going to go back.
Well, that's interesting.
Actually, that is one thing I wanted to try. Oh, and I was actually able to get out. Well, that's fascinating. And you can't. Look at that. Interesting. And now I can run around the city, and you cannot. Well, I'm going to send you a party invite, because that is a weird way to say goodbye. And then I'm going to pick somewhere else for us to go. Where was I thinking? So take it home. Oh, nice. Okay, you found us. Guess we can leave the party now. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you
you
got
fell
that
out.
was so funny, and you
And it
spawned
wouldn't
in
let
right
me
up there. That was so funny.
it wouldn't let me leave.
And there your ride goes flying around.
There it goes. Yeah. Well,
So one of the
I think
yeah,
that there's potential, definitely. Actually, even for the treehouse. Hadn't thought
right.
about there
Oh
being
yeah,
a
guided
trip you could
ride.
take
That's such a
around
good
the tree.
idea. Right? Maybe on a
Yeah.
butterfly or something.
There you go.
Or a dragonfly, right?
That's
So
right.
So for this feels almost like a concept world of showing like we can replicate our favorite memory. It's actually, in a weird way, it's kind of proof of Take It Home, right? That this ride was so impactful to the person that they created it in
Right.
virtual reality.
That's similarly to uh, um, the Sergeant
Mm-hmm.
Pepperland from
Mm-hmm.
Yellow Submarine. That world
Mm-hmm.
that's in here. It's
Yeah.
it's not someplace we can go to apart from watching the movie. So I would
They made it
easily
here.
be inspired to work on that
Yeah.
just so I could go visit it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so interesting. Yeah. Huh. And so, what are other good examples of Take It Home in the ranges that can mean? So, like, have you been to the world called Backgammon, where you can go out of the
Yes.
apartment?
I've only stayed in the apartment, so once an
You've
example of
never
me staying on
been
the rails.
to. Oh,
I've been
yeah.
in the
So, I think it's a really good example of environmental storytelling in
mm-hmm,
virtual reality and in Horizon because the more it's a beautiful apartment in itself, but it's very
beautiful.
crowded.
Yeah.
And so the more fanciful experience is to see the design. So we haven't been there together.
No, we
Oh, you're
haven't.
gonna love this. That's the one we
Yeah,
need
it
to go
was
to.
one of the first places I went to by myself when I first arrived.
Ah, okay. Let's go to Backgammon. Oh, and we're
Do
gonna
we
have to
need
do the
to?
same thing because otherwise, yeah,
Okay.
people are gonna come and find us, which is fun, but depends on the people. It is distracting. Okay, Backgammon. There we go. Backgammon at Greg's. This would be a really fun world to take a. Oh, oh no, it's taking me there without you. Okay, I will add you shortly. Um, this would be such a fun world to actually do a missed you photo together and see if we can get Greg to come in and talk to us because this is one of the best teaching worlds I think I found. I'm so excited to show you this as far as an appreciation of the hidden stuff was like so important as a lesson of how to use space and Horizon. Okay, so I'm going to invite to world. Did you get an invite? Okay. Bye, London. And then as soon as you get here, I will hang up before I forget. Oh, good. And they made the couch non-collidable. So he's been back in here. That's interesting. Probably. I mean, it's really, really cute. Cute world.
Okay. Leaving party. Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a masterclass in object
design.
making with and also his asymmetrical. I mean, it really could use a chair falling over, but other than that, it's
right. It's
like
way too neat
cushion.
in here. I don't think humans live here.
Yeah, I do know humans that would like this amount of order.
Right.
Yeah, I think one of the things that impressed me the most was I think one of these things has a little. Well, it has this start on it, but I thought there was something with a little light on it.
This also implies more of a London clock, which is kind of interesting. It's not 1:37. Yeah,
it's military time. Yeah,
so cool. So let's get some food. Have a look in the fridge. You've got to go deeper. Follow.
Oh gosh,
push
walk in
all the way. Walk in. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. Yes, yes. All
Magical.
the way. Yes, there you go.
Aha. That's great.
Isn't this such an example of what I
Yay.
do? Maybe Greg is
That's
the one
exactly.
that totally influenced me because I was like, that's a
You
reward.
you can
Yes,
do that.
you
Although I
can
would
do
have
that.
wanted like really oversized refrigerator things. Like ketchup.
That would have been another way to go. Exactly. The broccoli
Yes.
is like
So
high fiving you as you come out.
that's right.
Yes.
Good job. So
So
your reward
check
is you get
this
to go
out.
on this trip.
Yes.
This is oh yeah. I had no idea.
Yeah. And so
That's
now you get to look at the cars and see that they only have two wheels.
oh, that's great. See, that's theatrical magic.
Isn't this really brilliant?
Well, and also the wonderful sort of postmodern detail on this building is
Mm-hmm.
inspired. And
Yes.
then
And then you
his
get to
people in the
see that
windows. They
yeah,
don't.
no, check these
No.
people out. So when you get
Yeah,
to it, you realize they're not inside.
they're in front.
They're in
That's
front.
great.
Is that
It makes me
smart?
wonder whether or not he has, his life is in the movie industry because this is so
Right.
don't build what you
Yeah.
can't see.
Oh,
It's
really?
expensive to
Yeah,
build.
that's interesting. That's a question we get to
That's
ask.
that's
And then
clever.
this font, this was such a teaching around what to do with font to make dimensionality.
Oh, right.
Because
Without
from the
the expense.
angle, it's
Yeah,
perfectly angled to look like it's a very thick lettering.
that's right. Well, and interesting too, he must have had to jump around back and forth between the
Exactly.
view
So much
because
cycling, right? And he cut out,
there's the apartment.
like, I even appreciate that it technically, as far as I know, would not have cost him more to have this building all the way down. But there's a
But he
statement he's making to say, like,
yeah,
only use the space that you can see.
that is super smart. Well, okay, so here's the next test. Can I walk
Mhm.
through objects? No, because I
Ah,
was
you're
going to
right.
whether or
You're
not
right. Non collidable.
he
That would have been another
yeah,
lesson.
that would have been another lesson. It
Ah,
would have
I'll
been
have to
turning
I'll have to
off.
send him a message and say, like, you got to
That's
come
right.
back to
You got to
save some
turn
more
collidables
space.
off. Not
Yeah,
that you need to, because it's pretty
not that you need to.
brilliant. Well,
Yeah,
I've got to go back
yeah,
and admire this place.
I know.
That's so clever
Mm-hmm. And that he
and
used font as
purposeful.
the lights. So clever.
Is that what he did?
Yeah, this is
Oh,
just periods.
oh
And
really?
you can tell because the margin on it is blurry, which actually works with the light even better versus just a regular
Yeah.
shape.
At least
I
he
just
made
got
the
hit by a
cars
car.
non-collidable. Yeah.
Some of them are and some of them aren't. These over here are not. And so it will push you
Oh, I
off under
see.
the world. And it's also such a good example of, like, somebody can be this skilled but not know how to grow a respawn script. So you can
Right.
actually fall off the world in here.
And then that's it. And then now you're stuck.
Yeah. And so the
Well,
take home for this world, especially before they had private sessions, when I would spawn into this little apartment,
right.
I felt super crowded and scared about who was going to come in after me, right? But then when I
Right.
found this
Right.
open space, this became the really fun thing because people would spawn in and look out the window and I would wave at them and I would just sit at the bus stop, and just be like,
Well,
hello.
he's also may had no need to have a lower floor. It just
Oh,
it is
you're
it's
right.
just floating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and exactly. It feel he could have easily made a non-collidable building filling that whole space up,
Yeah.
but he's
But
making
no.
a statement about efficiency, and
Efficient. Well,
it's really
this is
fun.
definitely a master class.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if
Yeah,
you're going to give tours as a master class
yeah,
in
yeah,
world building, this is it.
yeah,
This is
yeah.
by far it.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
so clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that it goes beyond the level of what we would expect. He meets expectations of a beautiful, well-designed world, but then
He
he
does.
absolutely teaches you about how to take up space in Horizon.
Well, he also understands that cities are made of sometimes not beautiful things like this
Mm.
parking thing that suggests
Mm.
there's an underground parking with the
Mm-hmm.
attendant, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just that's
That's
just
so
kind of the
true.
vocabulary of
It's
a
the
city.
details.
it's
Yeah.
it's not a utopian city, it's a city.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
and
It's
it
gonna
and it
have
has
some sticky
ugly carving
gum.
carving
Mm-hmm.
structures, and
Yep.
it's got this beautiful building here.
It has people
um
fighting, even though there's
yeah,
beautiful landscape. Yeah.
yeah, very
This is
animated. And they have no legs
interesting. Yeah,
because
exactly.
we don't
They
here.
have rings.
Yes.
So we need to mimic this. That's so
It's
funny. I
funny.
never realized they don't have legs. Huh.
Yeah, just like
Of
us.
course they don't, just like us.
Yeah.
It'd be so really cool if we ever do get to meet him and he comes in here and he says, "Did you find the secret door that went up into the whatever?" And I'd be like, I've gone here
No, I
so many
didn't.
times. Yeah. Talk
Yeah,
about cityscapes, though. Mm.
his wonderful airplane safety lights on
Mm-hmm.
the buildings so that
Yeah,
the
exactly.
planes don't fly into
Yep.
them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
And
all part
actually,
of vocabulary of cities.
I just saw something that I've never seen before, which is that these lights, some of them are flickering on and off. I never realized that, but
Oh,
that
no, I
light
had
just
not.
turned on back there. I'm pretty
That's
sure.
clever.
Yeah. Yep.
Or
Another one just
you're
turned on.
imagining it. Oh, did it? Okay.
Yep.
I
That's
wonder
really, yep. Look,
I wonder if he's
there it was again.
yeah. I wonder, is he sliding it in and out, do you think, or is he actually scripted it
That's
to
a
go on and
good
off?
question. Oh, see, now we do have to meet him because we have to ask him these
That's
questions.
right. We have questions.
We have questions.
We have questions.
Are
Well,
you not
so
seeing them
that's.
flicker?
Oh, I am, absolutely am.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool.
There goes one. So that's the other. I mean, the other thing that's brilliant about this, or anything when you're building a world in here, is this is really leveraging the limited palette you have. It just says
exactly.
rather than fighting it and trying to make for realism that isn't there. These cars, they are enough to be cars.
To be
They're
cars.
all the right things.
Yeah.
But like leaving the other two wheels off is just not just economical, but like of course you would.
Of course.
You would leave them
Well,
off.
and I want, my guess is he built that car with 4 wheels on it. And he ran out of space. And then he started to trim. And then at the very end, he thought, I'm going to let people see how far I had to trim. And I'm not going to be afraid of them seeing what I did with the space. And that is my favorite thing about this world. It really captures that.
So, here's another masterclass lesson.
Okay.
Well, before we go, is note how few curved surfaces there are. The trees have them, these have them, that has them.
Uses
curves to use up polygons. So lots of, he's allowed organic things, which are the trees, to be curved, but absolutely almost everything else is like this pole could have been a circular one, but it didn't need to be.
That's so true.
Anyway.
And he has a soft building right here in the middle, which is using the one curved. But everything
corner.
else, is very square. You're right. That's really interesting.
Yeah, no. I'm impressed.
You're impressed. Yeah, you're like, I recognize
impressed.
this builder. Yes, I'm so excited to now hopefully meet him. Oh, we need to take a photo in here for a Mistio. So can we have them in the background and we'll take a photo?
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to be part of the Mistios now. Yay. Oh, well, that was not intentional. There we go. Oh, well, one more. We're out in the city. Awesome. Okay. So now I want to show you one more, which is Victor Riddle's. Have you seen his city selfie spot?
Is it the all white?
No.
Please. Okay. No.
It is. So this was clever of him. He just. Oh, it's doing it again. I thought we were in a party. Weird. Can you hear me? No. That's interesting. Oh, that did not work. That's so funny. I guess the balls don't always work. Yeah, I'll invite you. Yeah. Oh, okay. Did I do a private session? I think I did. So what I was going to say is Victor is really good at testing limits of Horizon. So this was him really throwing himself into graphically representing some pretty awesome detail and showing how to use the space. So I'm going to... I hope I did a private session. I'll leave the party.
Unparty.
Oh,
Okay.
I get it now. Look at that.
Oh,
I was like,
interesting.
why
Okay.
did he go through this whole effort? So all of this is just a photo for his other world.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I love his puddles.
So clever.
That's very clever.
Hmm.
And so what's going on with that sunset? Is that are we seeing
I
a night
bet
setting?
no.
What are we seeing?
So my guess is that this is gradient cubes stretched, and then
oh, that's
we
right.
have a flattened
he's masked. He's
half.
masked it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
clever.
Because you can kind of see
Very
the outline
clever.
right there.
Yeah.
And then he has really good shading on these clouds.
Mm-hmm. Really, really distorted
Mm-hmm.
the geometry to create that.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely has a very 80s vibe in a good way.
I appreciate this also, right? So this outlining right here, it kind of adds that dimensionality to it.
Yeah. No, he's a master at the fine details and also in where to spend.
Mm-hmm.
So is this font that's happening here with the windows and the line work?
That's a good question. Think about that. Because I'm thinking about like how to do the font so you're using up the least object space. He's not using that many objects in here, so it might not need to be font. Font might be too complicated, but it could be. I mean, it's it's glow, so it could be.
Well, unlit color is actually a new phenomenon in the tools, right? So if you wanted something unlit, it had to be a font or it had to be lit.
Well, actually, you could turn the glow all the way down before, and it was still unlit, just all the way to like 1%. It was pretty close, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So the take home for this one, which he turned it into this because he was just wanting it for a picture, but then he probably was like, "This is amazing! I'm going to give people a chance to take a photo." Then he gave us not a ring to stand on, but where we plant our non-existent feet. Okay, well, we should
your Kodak moment.
We gotta take home our $7 photo here, right?
That's right. Yep.
Let's see here.
Whoop.
I'm trying to get the sunset in between us.
Okay.
Why am I having trouble steering? Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Yay. Oh, gosh, my controller. It's not working. There we go. Ah, it did it again. Okay, hand point down. Yay. I love how you tilt your head, but you don't do thumbs up.
No, because everything has thumbs up. Everybody thumbs up.
That's it. You're just like, I'm just staring at you. That's good, though. I mean, it really creates a graphic that is so much more rich. You can't tell the gradient colors. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Take it home. Well, so I guess the last example I'm thinking of right now, as far as take it home, which is a goal, but I don't know how well we'll get there. Hopefully we'll get there. Is this idea of people taking bees to their world homes as a part of the open house kind of call to action of by putting a bee in your world, you are agreeing or supporting the.
And not only that, but you're also signaling those people that come to your world, if they see the bee and know the meaning of it,
Yeah.
that it's almost like seeing an old friend.
Yeah. That bee
I
diversity.
mean,
The bees have been here, and the bees are reminding us all to be
right.
inclusive. Be
Right.
inclusive.
It's kind of like a bad example is the Jesus fish.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it says
It's a bee now. Yeah.
it's a little code that says, we have an understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's saying the world creator thought of you and your diverse voice when this
Right.
world was created. This was published
Exactly
with you
right.
in mind. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I love that.
And for those that don't understand its meaning, it's just a bee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I need to go work on that soon. So I have that clear as a suggestion for people. Very cool. So shall we go back to liminality? You up to that?
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay. Yep.
I think we can both
go.
travel. Yeah.
Yeah.
My world. Wonder what we're gonna make. So many options. You said something, but I don't know what it was. Oh, hey Horizon, you gotta change the yellow box to be dotted. Now that's different. Or, better idea, change the dotted back to solid lines. Those dots are kind of making my eyes dizzy. Just me personally. I've heard other people say headaches, but for me it's dizzy. All kinds of symptoms.
Okay.
So what should we make? I was talking to Horizon about their graphic and giving them some feedback.
Oh. Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Take it home. What shall we make? Well, we have a city theme, but we also have that idea of behind the scenes.
Oh, I think I know.
Yay, you know.
Let me just a sec. This will take me a moment.
I think I know what you're going to do.
Talk among
Way
yourselves.
to skip the creation tool. As we can see here, DJ is pulling his fingers forward and he is importing a creature. That's such a good idea. Nice way to round it all out. Okay. And of course, it will not.
Here he is.
Oh, nice. Look at that.
Right,
make him grabbable.
Okay.
Interactive. Grabbable.
Yeah. Goodbye. And we're just making big. We can put him on the letters.
Yay. Make him big. Where shall the bee live?
Am I making him big?
You make him big. Yeah.
Okay.
Aw. That bee has been places.
That bee has history. That bee has
history. Mana. Yeah, it totally does.
Let's see. Well, there's no reason the bee can't be flying.
That's so true. Maybe the bee is going to take us home. Oh, look. Aha. That's great. Aw, that's so cool. Especially considering that's from a world called Wilt. So he's like, you are growing. That's so good.
Okay.
Yay, bee. Aww.
Yay, bee.
I love that. That flower looks so much happier now. The bee's like buzzing it, going like, bloom, I believe in you, bloom. So good. Well, this is episode 10. Take it home.
Yes.
Hopefully it recorded correctly. Thank you, everyone. And
thank you for our rambling.
We will see you with episode 1 because we've messed up in all our recordings.
Succeeded to record.